Let's welcome in Ben Bounds, who is with Follywood Productions, and he is going to tell us about a big event on Friday night for the Clemson fans and you Bulldog fans as well to come out to and get ready for the game. Ben, it's great to have you with us. How are you?
Hey, Phil. Thanks for having me. Doing well. How about you?
Man, we're doing fantastic. Looking forward to next week. Give us the lowdown here on Fan Fest, which runs on Friday afternoon, Friday night from 3 to 11. What do you guys have lined up?
Yes, sir. So we're going to open the doors at 3 o'clock. Live music starts at 4 p.m. We're going to be at West Side Motor Lounge. It's in Midtown Atlanta. It is less than a mile from the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It's like 0.8 miles from the stadium. Huge venue with a big stage. The venue holds about 1,500 people. Really, really cool place. It's a multi-purpose venue. There's multiple bars. There's rooms for vendors and kids. And the show, we have a very low ticket price. It's only $20. It's all ages. You can bring the kids. Children 12 and under get in free. So we're really hoping to get a bunch of young Clemson and Georgia families there. We're going to get it kicked off at 4 o'clock with the Pink Stones from Athens, made up of a bunch of UGA alums. And then our headliner actually plays in the middle. We've got fan favorite Jupiter Coyote, a band that has been playing in Athens and Clemson for 30 years, so hugely popular with both fan bases. And then to close out the show, we have the biggest up-and-coming band out of Clemson, South Carolina, Dazer. And so these guys are a straight-up rock band, kind of hearkening back to a late 80s, early 90s rock sound. Really excited to have them on board. We've got the Classic City Collective is going to come in between the Pink Stones set and the Jupiter Coyote set and give an update on the Georgia NIL initiative and how the Georgia fans can contribute back to that. We're expecting to have some former Clemson and Georgia football players there. And we're still waiting to hear back from some other organizations at the two universities on who else is coming to make some announcements about different things that are happening at both universities. We've got some feelers out. We feel pretty good about that. This event started last year. Our initial or inaugural Fan Fest was actually in Columbia, South Carolina last year, the Friday night before the South Carolina-Mississippi State game. And that event was at Steel Hands Brewing, and we ended up having 2,200 people there for that event last year. So we feel good about this one. It is a road game for both teams. But we know that a lot of people are coming into town. We're over 400 RSVPs already for the event, so we are expecting a really, really lively crowd. And we want everybody to come, show up early, show out, get loud with us, wear your colors. We're going to be chanting the fight songs in between band sets, and we're going to have some Georgia and Clemson-inspired artwork there. And there's food and drink specials all night, so we wanted to put on an event that would be affordable for the Georgia and Clemson fans that are traveling, because we know how expensive flights and gas and hotel rooms and game tickets and all that can be. Mm-hmm. So we really wanted to do something that was all ages, that was very affordable, and, that would be fun for everybody.
Well, it sounds like it, and the price is right. And so you're just alerting me to something I didn't realize. This is just not a Clemson-centric operation. This is something that you did, like you said, last year in Columbia, this one in Atlanta. So this is something you kind of foresee taking around maybe the Southeast and doing prior to some of the big games in that part of the country?
We have a meeting in September with a potential partner to take it to possibly do 2 or 3 more events this season. Probably, I don't know that it'll be that many, but I do think we're going to do at least 1 more this season, maybe 2. But the meeting that we're going to have in September will be about adding more dates and taking it to more college towns in 2025. It'll be primarily SEC and ACC college towns in the Southeast. But we have some potential sponsors and partners that are very interested. They like the concept. They love the numbers that we did in Columbia last year. They really like the plan that we have for Atlanta this year. And so we're looking around at different markets, hoping to work with some different universities and different venues and fan bases And, the sky's the limit for this event. It was so well received last year, and we're getting such a great feedback on it this year that we're really excited.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you finding that the schools are very interested in working with you? Because as you mentioned, you're going to have an NIL presentation from the Georgia side of things and something from Clemson. They see this as an opportunity to be connecting right with their fans on site?
Yes, sir. So last year was crazy. We had in Columbia, Mississippi State brought their alumni association. They set up a huge booth, and they brought their NIL director, and they spoke after the first band. And then University of South Carolina, the Gamecocks sent Chance Miller, who was the associate AD under Ray Tanner. He's now at Coastal Carolina. And he brought Jeremy Smith from the Garnet Trust, and they spoke for about 10 minutes in between the bands. That was very well received. And then right before the headliner took the stage, the Mississippi State cheerleading squad and mascots came out and did a full presentation that lasted about 7 or 8 minutes, really got the visitor crowd fired up. And look, Mississippi State had not played at South Carolina in 10 years when that game happened last year. And they had over 600 fans just at this event. South Carolina, of course, had about 15 or 1,600 fans at the event. So it was very, but it was in Columbia. So it was very South Carolina-centric. We're expecting more of a 50-50 crowd in Atlanta. And, the reason we do it the night before the game is we want to bring the two fan bases together before the gloves come off and things get, crazy on game day. We want the fans to have a chance to interact. Obviously, with the proximity that Clemson and Athens share, only being, an hour and a half apart or whatever, we felt like these two fan bases have there's a lot of friendships and probably family relationships between the two fan bases. And so we really wanted to do something to bring those fan bases together and let them hang out, share some camaraderie the night before the game.
What a great concept. So are tickets, you said RSVPs, you've got that going on. How can what's the best way for somebody to get information, RSVP, get their tickets in advance?
So they will need to go find Follywood Productions on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter X. The ticket link is in the bio for the Follywood Productions site on all 4 of those platforms. And then FanFest actually has its own page on Instagram, on Follywood FanFest, and the ticket link is there as well. Or you can go to the West Side Motor Lounge website, and they have it posted there as well. We've had tons of Clemson and UGA accounts that are primarily sports accounts sharing the event. So if you're on Twitter X, let me tell you what, it won't be hard to find us. I want to say we've had something like 20,000 reshares of the event info just in the last 6 or 7 days. So there's a lot of momentum building there, and it's starting to catch fire on the other social media platforms. I think we're about to hit 300 RSVPs on LinkedIn, which is crazy. So our ticket sales really started coming in last weekend, and they're going up every day. So like I said, we're expecting a really big crowd and a very kind of a raucous crowd. We're expecting a lot of camaraderie, and, like I said, come, wear your gear, be ready to sing the fight song, and we hope to see everybody in Atlanta next Friday.
Hey, sounds like a great plan and a great time for Tigers and Bulldogs alike. Know it's going to go great, and we appreciate you being with us tonight. Yeah.
Before we cut Ben loose, Ben, I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. I love hair band, metal music, the whole 9 yards. When you talked about Dazer, and I look at their influences, and they're talking about guys like Van Halen and Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin, can you just let those guys play for 8 hours? Let them go for 9, let them go for 3 to 11? I mean, they'll be exciting, I'm sure.
Hey, I tell you what, if we decide to do this in Clemson next season, be on the lookout. We're probably going to bring Dazer back and probably give them more time. They've got 2 hours on the back end of the show. You're going to get the cool thing about it is all 3 bands are playing a full show like you would see at a venue. The Pink Stones are playing 90 minutes, Jupiter Cody's playing 2 hours, and then Dazer's playing 2 hours. So it is going to be a long event and lots of music, and you're really going to get a feel for all 3 bands because they're going to get to do their full show. It's not an abbreviated, 40-minute set or anything like you would get at a festival. These guys are all going to come out. They're all going to bring their A game. the Pink Stones are one of the most popular up-and-coming bands out of Athens. They tour nationwide. Obviously, Jupiter Coyote sold over 3 million records and has been touring for 30 years. They are hugely popular within both fan bases. And like I said, Dazer's the hottest thing coming out of the upstate right now, and they are absolutely on fire. And if you are a fan of, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, that kind of music, that kind of in-your-face rock and roll, then you are going to absolutely love them.
Have you ever heard of a band from Athens called Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts?
I have not, but
Okay.
they sound like a good time.
Look them up. I'm not even sure they're still alive, but I can remember going to Athens as a high school student to a function there, and they were like the hot band at the time. Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts. See if you can book those guys if they're still alive. I'm not sure.
I
they
will.
might.
I'm going to have to call my friend David Barbie over at the Music Business School over at UGA and get him to tell. He's the guy that tells me about all the obscure Athens bands.
He will know
I'm
about
just glad
Doug
he didn't
Clark
ask
and the
you,
Hot
Ben.
Nuts.
Have you heard of a band from Athens called REM? I was going to have to have a long talk with Phil.
It's funny.
Long talk with Phil.
Well, it's funny. 12 or 13 years ago, I was in Athens to see Shovels and Rose. Right when they were about to hit it big, they were playing at the 40 Watt. They were actually the opener, which is crazy that they were opening for another band in a bar that small. But not that it's a small bar, but anyway, I was there, and I just gotten there. I was hanging out with Carrie Ann and Michael from Shovels and Rose in the backstage, and I went to get my first beer. And while I was sitting in line, I could feel somebody kind of on my back, like kind of bumped into me because it was packed in there. And I turned around, and it was Michael Stipe from REM. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I said hello. And, man, I walked over to the side stage to get kind of a good spot where I could watch the bands. And sure enough, I look over to my right, and I see Mike Mills from REM and Dave Schools from Widespread Panic standing over there just kind of bobbing their heads. And I was like, this is going to be an awesome show. What a cool venue, and what a great night to be there to see all those kind of guys. And within less than a year, Shovels and Rope was nationwide and selling out tours and all, so that was one of those nights I'll never forget because it was just, there was so much happening, and, you kind of felt like something big was about to go down, and it did. And it was kind of their coming out party in Athens, and, they're Charleston homegrown, and they've done an amazing job. And so that's one of my favorite stories to tell about Athens.
Well, I'll tell you now, I've heard of Hootie and the Blowfish, but you have an incredible amount of knowledge about the music scene and these bands. Is this something you kind of do like as a hobby, or is this, how did you get so deep into this?
I got into the music business back in 2003 when I was 23, straight out of college. And that was back in Mississippi, started at Mississippi State, ended up at Ole Miss, got into the music business in my early 20s, went on tour with a Southern rock band. And then from there, I started booking concerts and festivals and moved to South Carolina 16 years ago. And I ran all the festivals out on Folly Beach for about 7 or 8 years. And I've really kind of cut my teeth in that industry. So I feel like I'm probably kind of a nerd about, live bands, especially from the Southeast. I'm a big Southern rock, jam band, bluegrass and blues and outlaw country guy. So if it's in one of those genres and it's from the Southeast, especially from a college town in the Southeast, then I'm probably going to be pretty familiar with their music.
Fantastic. Well,
Great
check out
stuff.
Doug Clark and the Hot Nuts. I think you'll find them to be right up your alley as far as you just go listen to their
I'm
music.
about to cook some dinner, and I'm gonna cook some dinner and try to find them on Spotify.
Let me know what you find, okay?
You got it.
Hey, Ben, thank you, man. We'll talk again.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Phil.
See you
y'all
now.
soon.
Take care. Okay, Ben Bounds, Follywood Productions.